Dynamics NAV is the ERP system we use to run the financial and operational sides of the business. To access it, go to the Start menu, open the icon that says Dynamics NAV 2017. If you've been set up as a user for NAV, then it'll log you straight in based on the details you've already put into your computer. When NAV opens, the screen defaults to the role center. The role center contains information that is generally relevant to your role. In this case, I'm a project manager, so it includes a lot of job information. The screen itself is broken into several pieces. Across the top, we have the ribbon, and this, like most other Microsoft products, contains the buttons and functions that you can get to that are relevant to the current page that you're on. Now, these will change as you go to different pages, just like in an Outlook or Word or any other application. Running down the left-hand side is what we call the navigation. This contains all of the current menu items that are available to you. And again, these change depending on where you are. On the role center, the items that are down the side here can be added and removed by yourself. We'll get into that when we get to the customization section. But for now, know that they're sort of shortcuts to different screens within the system, and that you can add and remove them as you need to. Down the bottom here are the menu items, which can take us to other areas of the business. For example, if we click departments, we can then see all of the available areas that we can get to. For the most part, we only need to be on the home screen, and ideally you have most of the things that you need sitting here. In the main section, we have what are referred to as the queues, and the queues are obviously little blue boxes with numbers on them that give us insights into different pieces of information. For example, our top queue here is the quoting activities, and so this is telling me that I currently have 43 jobs that are ready to start quoting. I've got 9 jobs that are currently being quoted, 39 that are ready to design, 12 that need a requote, etc. If I click into one of these boxes, it'll open that screen and show me the list of jobs that are relevant. So here's our 12 jobs that make up what is waiting to be requoted. Now, each of these screens will contain different information depending on what it's actually relevant to. For example, this one is for requoting. It's talking about approved plans, requote time lapses, and some general product information as well, or job information. You'll have noticed that the ribbons changed across the top. We get a different set of menu items that we can get to. Importantly, we can get to the job card, which will open up everything we need to know about the job. Making our way down, there's more queues available here, depending, and whether you have these or not is again customizable, depending on your role. So for example, tie-in activities may be completely irrelevant to me. I can remove that one and say, yeah, I don't need that one, and it takes it off. Now, on the right hand side over here, again, still in the main section, we have what company we're currently in. This is important for those people that need to jump into different companies, especially for finance people, to know which company you're in. For others, it's not so important. In here we have more queues, and these ones are around approval activities. So we'll see a whole series of videos around purchasing and purchasing approvals, and this is some of the shortcuts for purchasing in there. In the top right hand corner is the global search. This allows us to search and find screens right across the system. So for example, if I wanted to look for something like, look, let's try attachments. Here we can see attachment types, attachment document files. There's a whole bunch of different attachment pages that we can get to there. I could just go straight to the job screen. You can see here it's giving me the list of different job screens that I can get to. Common one which people tend not to have on their main screen to start with is purchase orders. So we can search on that, click, takes us through to the purchase order screen. This is a list screen. Like a lot of the screens as we go through, they're made up into either lists or cards. This is a list screen. If I click on a particular purchase order and say let's view that purchase order, then that opens into what is referred to as a card. The purchase order. We'll come back into the purchase order in a minute. First, to begin with, we'll stay with the list. On a list screen, there are a number of things that we can do. Again, we have a search function. You'll see that the global search is still available at the top. This search function allows us to search on the list items below. It's important to select the field that you would like to search on. For example, I could go on the number field, which would let me search on the PO number, or I could look on the vendor name. Searching for the vendor is just a matter of typing in keywords, key parts of the name. It doesn't have to be the whole name. You can see I've just written ASI Sol, brings up ASI Solutions. Likewise, I could type in solutions and it brings up everything that contains solutions in it. What's contained on the page here is customizable to an extent, where I can say right click, choose columns, and this shows me the columns that I have available. On the right hand side are the ones that are currently showing and the order they're shown in. On the left hand side are the columns that are available and not currently showing that I could add by saying, right, I want to say add these fields. You see they've added them down the bottom. That may not be where I'd like them to be. I can then use the move up, move down buttons to move them around. Select OK, page reloads, and those extra couple of fields are brought in. So you can see posting date has landed there. On the left hand side of the main section of our list, you see it says purchase orders, and beside that is a little drop down. The drop down will either hide or show the advanced filter. Let us search on limit totals, not use that often outside of the finance area. And it will also let us to save the view. So we can say, after putting in our filters, so in this case we've got a filter for ASI Solutions, we can say, right, save as view, and that will save our view with a new name, purchase orders ASI for example, back into our home screen. To get the changes you have to restart. We're not going to do that just at the moment. The advanced filter gives us access to all the fields that are in the tables used in the list. They may not be ones that you can actually display, but you can still put them into the filter. For example, let's take area code. This will allow us to pick the relevant areas, so Vic East, Vic North, Vic West, New South Wales, to put into the filter, and then the list is filtered according to that. Area code doesn't make a whole lot of sense for ASI Solutions, but anyway. We can also do things like use wildcards. So we can say, right, show me all the purchase orders for ASI Solutions where the value is greater than $5,000. So I'm using the greater than sign, putting in the 5,000, and you can see it's filtered the amount over here to only those that are greater than $5,000. There's a whole series of these that we can use, which will include in a data sheet. It's a lot easier to understand them in a data sheet rather than here in a video. But just know that we can do things like show dates. So let's say we take document date, which is displayed on screen at the moment, and say, right, show me all the ones that have a document date in February. So we could do a shortcut like say P, period, and it will put in a filter of the 1st of February to the 28th of February. And you see in the middle is a dot dot. Now in NAV, the dot dot basically means through to. It says, show me the range. So if I wanted to see the range of purchase orders from the 1st of the 2nd through to the 10th of the 2nd, I could do that. And it would show still the same number of purchase orders, but I've changed the range that it's showing. If I wanted to show everything up until the 1st of the 2nd, I could say, right, show me dot 0102 defaults to up until the 1st of the 2nd. I used before the period button. I can also do things like P-1, which will show me everything in January and not February. So as I said, there's a lot of different shortcut buttons that can be used right across the system. T is a common one, and there is a data sheet available for that, which we'll link in the training so that it's easily available for everyone. So that is a list screen. Let's open up one of these purchase orders. And this is the same across most screens in NAV where we have the card, and the card is broken into sections. Again, we have the ribbon across the top, which has relevant buttons to what we're trying to do in the screen. We then come down, we have the purchase order number and the supplier, and then we hit the general section. So the general section is just that. It has the information that is general to this purchase order. Some refer to it as the header, so it's got the header information relevant to the purchase order. Compulsory fields in here and right across the system are obviously vendor, project code, project area, and as we get down into the lines, we'll see that things like cost center are also mandatory. We'll get into what each one of these, or what some of the main ones here are used for in other videos. This is a general video, so we'll just keep it high level in that this is what the sections are broken into. You'll notice down here there's a show more, show less button, which shows all of the fields or hides some of the fields. We can wrap things up by hitting the buttons on the side here that wrap it up. That then brings us down into the lines. So the lines are, in this case on a purchase order, all the individual items that we're purchasing. So here we've got iPads, we've got freight, and we enter the individual details for this purchase order. Totals are shown down the bottom, and then again we have more tabs, which you can undo or move around. Again, in the customization video, we'll show how you can move these around to suit how you need it. Finish with this, there's the close button. Something to note throughout the system is that there is not a save. So it's a database. It takes it that as you make a change, as long as you're allowed to have the credentials to be able to do that, then when you make a change, as soon as you move off that field, so shipment number is new shipment, as soon as you move off that field, that is put into the database and stays there. There's no save, there's no edit, delete, anything like that. It's just straight in, make the change. If you're allowed to do it, then you can. And as soon as you're off that field, the change is saved. And that happens whether I hit the OK button down the bottom, or if I hit the cross at the top. Doesn't matter. So that is a card screen. We're now back into a list screen again. When we come into the jobs area, there's a couple of other interesting pieces of information that start to display. Again, this jobs area is a list screen. It has many fields available, and you can, like in the other screen, customize the columns according to what you need. But on the right hand side here, we have what are called fact boxes. And fact boxes show information about the record that you're currently sitting on. So I'm here on Cloverton 320, and this is the job information showing down the side. It shows templates that have been applied, construction dates, those sort of things. If I click off onto another one, let's say Edgebrook, here we are. Here's the information for Edgebrook, running down the side in the fact box. So the fact box is just a quick way to see some information about the underlying data or the underlying records to do with the job. And you'll notice these are all hyperlinked values, so you can then go and say, right, let's open the job card. Click on that, it'll open the job card. I want to see what the resources are. I can click that. It'll bring up the resource budgets that have been put in there. So that's fact boxes running down the side. Tabs across the top with our ribbon, we have different tabs for different things. Generally, the home button will have the most used functions. The action tab will have things that make changes. Navigate allows you to go to other tables. And the report function has some reports, and really we don't use that many reports from inside the system. We choose to do that in Power BI. So at a high level, that is how the screens in NAV hang together. We have, as we said, the role center, which is where things start. We have the ribbon, we have the global search, we have the queues, the navigation pane, department buttons, and then we get into our different types of information, as in, here is a list screen, here is our advanced filter showing on the side here. Again, different values being shown there. And then if we were to drill through on one of these, we go from being in a list screen to being in a card. The shortcut buttons mentioned and the filtering options are included in the data sheet, which we'll try and include a link to. And in subsequent videos, we'll go into greater depth as to how to use the different areas, what the compulsory fields are, and those sort of things.